The Shattered Peace. Earth, 2476 AD. The planet had known centuries of fragile peace, a delicate balance maintained through interstellar diplomacy, trade, and alliances with neighboring star systems. Humanity had advanced far beyond its early centuries, mastering orbital cities, fusion-powered megacities, and interstellar travel. But peace, as history had shown, is never permanent. Dr. Ilara Quinn, director of the United Earth Defense Initiative, watched the orbital displays from the newly established Lagrange command station. Her sharp eyes scanned the readouts, tracing incoming vectors. Sensors indicated hundreds of foreign vessels emerging from the Ophiuchus Rift, a sector long considered neutral space. "Sir, multiple unidentified fleets entering the solar system," reported Lieutenant Rian Havel. "They are bypassing our outer defense grids with advanced cloaking and warp speed maneuvers." Ilara clenched her fists. "Send immediate alerts to all planetary defenses. Prepare the orbital interceptors. Humanity has survived threats before, but if these ships are hostile, we must be ready." Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, cities already bore scars of climate crises and resource wars. The alien fleet, later identified as the Sarith Dominion, did not give humanity time to adapt. Within hours, orbital bombardments reduced several megacities to rubble. Energy beams cut through towering structures, and advanced plasma strikes created explosions that rivaled small planetary detonations. General Cale Donovan of the Earth Defense Forces coordinated a counter-response from the ruins of New Geneva. His voice was calm but firm. "Focus on evacuation corridors for civilians and mobilize orbital defense fleets. Do not let panic disrupt operational discipline. Humanity survives through strategy, not fear." The first wave of Sarith Dominion ground forces deployed in orbital descent pods, targeting key population centers and industrial hubs. They were unlike any adversaries humans had faced, intelligent, highly coordinated, and ruthlessly efficient. Yet even in the chaos, humanity demonstrated resilience. Ilara coordinated a real-time simulation with AI-assisted tactical analysis. "We cannot fight them head-on," she said. "We need asymmetric strategies, guerrilla orbital strikes, autonomous drone swarms, and adaptive defense networks. They expect conventional resistance. We will be unpredictable." In the orbital city of New Manhattan, Commander Lyra Kane led a squadron of rapid response fighters. "The Dominion expects submission," she told her crew. "They underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation. We do not retreat. We adapt and strike." As humans struck back with targeted countermeasures, they discovered the first lesson of this war: raw power alone could not win against ingenuity. Energy reflection drones repelled several incoming plasma strikes, while orbital minefields disrupted alien trajectories, forcing the Sarith fleet to recalibrate mid-flight. Simultaneously, on Mars Colony Prime, engineers like Dr. Sornfeld devised a strategy to leverage local terrain and orbital satellites. Using controlled energy pulses and gravitational field distortions, they created temporary blind zones in which human units could strike unseen. The Dominion had never faced a species capable of combining science, engineering, and tactical acumen in real-time battle. By the end of the first cycle of attacks, several Sarith ships had been disabled or forced to retreat. Humanity had suffered devastating casualties, yet the survivors demonstrated an uncanny ability to reorganize, repair, and redeploy almost immediately. The key was coordination, preparation, and predictive AI. Humans did not panic, they learned from every strike. On Lagrange Command Station, Ilara addressed the remaining Earth Defense Council. "Our civilization has been shattered, yes, but humanity is not broken. We fight not only to survive but to show that even after devastation, we rise stronger, more innovative, and more united than ever." Across the galaxy, observers took note of humanity's reaction. Whereas other species might have cowered or begged for mercy, humans laughed, not out of arrogance, but out of confidence in preparation, ingenuity, and unity. It was a sound that would echo across star systems, signaling that Earth no longer relied on diplomacy alone but on its unmatched adaptability and resilience. As night fell over the ruins of the first targeted cities, humans organized for the inevitable counterattacks. Orbital drones were recalibrated, autonomous repair units patched damaged ships, and civilian volunteers assisted in rebuilding defenses. Education, science, and engineering became tools of survival. Humanity had turned catastrophe into opportunity. Captain Lyra Kane looked toward Earth from her fighter cockpit. "They thought destroying our cities would break our spirit. Instead, it has forged it. Humanity will rise, and the galaxy will know that after brutal attacks, We do not bow. We fight. The first wave of the Dominion had been a test, but humans were ready for the next. Every strike they faced was analyzed, every mistake turned into strategy, and every victory, no matter how small, built confidence. The era of passive civilization was over. Earth had declared that humanity would fight, and no force in the galaxy would underestimate them again. Rising from the ashes. The sun rose over a shattered Earth, its rays piercing through smoke-filled skies above the ruins of New Geneva, New Manhattan, and several other major megacities. Humanity's civilization had suffered its greatest test, yet even amid chaos, the species was refusing to submit. Across the globe, survivors were organizing, repairing, and preparing to fight back against the Sarith Dominion, a ruthless alien empire that had underestimated human adaptability. At the Orbital Lagrange Command Station, Dr. Ilara Quinn convened an emergency strategy meeting with Earth's remaining military leaders and scientific minds. Holographic displays projected the scale of the devastation and the alien fleet's positions. Every strike they delivered was calculated, Ilara said, tapping on the display to highlight weakened orbital corridors and fractured planetary grids. They expected panic. They expected us to crumble. But humans do not crumble, we adapt. That is our advantage. Every system they think they've disabled, we repair or circumvent with innovation. Humanity fights with intellect as much as with firepower. General Cale Donovan stepped forward, his battle-worn uniform marked by ash and scorch lines. We cannot simply rebuild what they destroyed. We must expand, innovate, and anticipate. They have underestimated us because they believe survival alone defines intelligence. They are wrong. Preparation and strategy define it. The first human counteroffensive was more than a military operation, it was a coordinated global effort. Engineers on Mars Colony Prime developed adaptive drones capable of repairing orbital satellites mid-combat while simultaneously targeting Sarith energy conduits. Fusion reactors on Lunar Station were modified to feed mobile shield generators, creating temporary protective bubbles over key urban areas. Every technological advancement was shared via quantum-secured networks, ensuring that every human outpost could implement them in real time. On Earth, Commander Lyra Kane prepared her squadron of rapid response fighters for a tactical orbital strike. Our goal is not annihilation but disruption, she explained to her pilots. We will neutralize their weapons platforms, disable their command arrays, and force them to react to us, rather than controlling the battlefield themselves. Remember, humans innovate. They adapt. Use that advantage. The first human strike fleet launched from multiple orbital stations, combining stealth maneuvers with drone-assisted firepower. Cloaked frigates and fighter squadrons zipped through the shattered remains of Sarith orbital defenses. Using AI-assisted targeting, humans could predict enemy movements before they happened. Plasma cannons fired at projected positions, while drones deployed holographic decoys to confuse the alien fleet. The Sarith Dominion, confident in their superior technology and centuries of military dominance, was caught off guard. Several of their ships collided or misfired due to miscalculating human tactics. Admiral Ziril, commander of the incoming Sarith forces, hissed through the translation interface. How can they predict our movements? They are reacting faster than any species we have ever faced. Back on Earth, civilians were not idle observers. Students, engineers, and scientists joined efforts to construct makeshift orbital launchers, automated repair units, and advanced communication relays. Education and application merged in real time. Young minds learned to calculate energy flux patterns, gravitational trajectories, and modular drone coordination, skills that were immediately applied to survival and combat. Meanwhile, on the front lines of the orbital battles, Lieutenant Malik Wren monitored predictive simulations, adjusting fleet movements with precise calculations. Captain Kane, their primary attack vector is shifting. They are attempting a pincer move through the Lagrange corridors. Lyra nodded. Good. Let them commit. Activate the adaptive countermeasures and draw them into our trap. Prepare the drone swarms to intercept at calculated nodes. This is not just combat, it's physics, engineering, and strategy in action. As the Sarith ships advanced into the trap, human drones flooded the corridors, deploying energy nets and decoy projections. Zaltrians, Sarith pilots, found themselves firing at false targets while real human ships struck from angles that had never existed in conventional warfare. Several enemy vessels were disabled or forced to retreat in confusion. Simultaneously, Dr. Sornfeld coordinated with orbital engineers on Mars and Luna. We have identified unstable gravitational pockets near the asteroid belts, he explained to the AI command interface. By creating controlled disruptions in these pockets, we can manipulate enemy ship trajectories, causing collisions without direct combat. This is controlled chaos. The Sarith Dominion had never faced an opponent who merged science, strategy, and combat so seamlessly. They were powerful, yes, but they relied on predictable aggression. Humanity's strength lay in unpredictability, calculated, intelligent, and adaptive. On Earth, General Donovan addressed the remaining planetary defense units. We are not merely defending. We are showing the galaxy that humanity does not submit to aggression. Each unit, each engineer, each civilian contributes to our resilience. Knowledge is our greatest weapon. The counteroffensive continued through several cycles. Human forces disrupted Sarith supply lines, neutralized orbital weapons, and forced enemy fleets into disarray. Simultaneously, humans salvaged alien technology, studying and integrating it into defensive grids and drone systems. Every engagement became a lesson in engineering, physics, and applied strategy. Amid the chaos, Captain Lyra Kane transmitted a broadcast to the Sarith Dominion. Calm, clear, and commanding, her voice echoed through universal channels. You have attacked our home. You have destroyed our cities. But you have underestimated humanity. We do not bow. We do not falter. You will find that knowledge, unity, and preparation surpass aggression and cruelty. Humanity rises, and we will not be stopped. Her words were not mere bravado, they were a declaration of strategy, intelligence, and moral resolve. The Dominion's confidence began to waver. Even the most experienced commanders began questioning their tactics. By the end of the second cycle, humanity had reclaimed key orbital zones and established adaptive strongholds around critical planetary and lunar infrastructures. Casualties were high, but the survivors were stronger, wiser, and more united. Dr. Ilara Quinn summarized the situation for the United Earth Defense Council. We have been tested and found resilient. Our civilization has changed, not destroyed, but transformed. Humanity now fights not as scattered nations but as a coordinated species, using knowledge, science, and ingenuity as our primary weapons. The Sarith Dominion will learn that even after brutal attacks, Earth does not kneel. We rise, and we fight. From the ruins of New Geneva to the orbital stations above, humanity was learning to turn disaster into opportunity. Engineers were designing energy shields while teaching physics principles. Pilots were applying predictive AI while learning orbital mechanics. Soldiers were adapting tactics while understanding advanced mathematics and strategy. The war itself had become a global classroom, and humanities students were excelling. Captain Kane looked toward the horizon from her fighter cockpit. They thought destroying our cities would break us. Instead, it has forged us. We are no longer passive. We are no longer complacent. Humanity will rise stronger than ever. And when we fight not just to survive, but to teach the galaxy the cost of underestimating intelligence, unity, and preparation. The second wave of the human counteroffensive had begun, and this time, the Sarith Dominion would discover the full extent of humanity's adaptability, resilience, and ingenuity. Civilization as it once was had ended, but a stronger, wiser, and more formidable humanity had begun into the Dominion. Humanity had survived the first wave of attacks and launched an effective counteroffensive, reclaiming orbital zones and establishing adaptive strongholds around Earth and the Moon. Yet the Sarith Dominion had not been entirely defeated. Their fleets, though weakened, had retreated toward the outer edges of the Sol system, regrouping in distant asteroid clusters and warp corridors. Captain Lyra Kane studied the fleet's tactical projections aboard the Sentinel Horizon, humanity's flagship for orbital operations. Hundreds of ships, each bristling with adaptive drones and advanced energy shields, moved in formation around Earth and Mars. Holographic displays projected the outer territories of the Sol system, highlighting asteroid belts, abandoned mining stations, and warp nodes that the Sarith might use for reinforcement. Lieutenant Malik Wren pointed to a cluster of red blips on the hologram. Captain, the Sarith are consolidating near the Arphiuchus corridor. Estimates suggest a combined force of 40 heavy cruisers and over 200 support craft. They are preparing for a counteroffensive to reclaim lost orbital zones. Lyra's jaw tightened. Good. Let them gather. Our objective is no longer purely defensive. We are going on the offensive, into their space. Humanity's strength lies not in reaction alone, but in anticipation, adaptation, and ingenuity. Prepare the fleet for warp maneuvers and deploy strike teams Theta and Sigma. This engagement will show them what humans truly are capable of. Across Earth, Dr. Ilara Quinn coordinated a massive effort to support the offensive. Engineers and scientists from every surviving nation worked in unison, repurposing civilian technology for war. Quantum communication arrays were adapted for fleet-wide coordination, AI-assisted predictive algorithms were enhanced to anticipate alien maneuvers, and autonomous repair drones were deployed to ensure continuous fleet readiness. Every ship we launch, every system we operate, every action we take must serve as a lesson in strategy and adaptability, Ilara explained to a room full of engineers. The Sarith Dominion believes brute force ensures victory. They have yet to understand that intelligence, coordination, and preparation can defeat aggression without annihilation. As the Sentinel Horizon and accompanying fleet warped toward the outer corridor, humanity's strategy was clear. Instead of a direct frontal assault, the humans would employ a combination of asymmetric tactics, stealth maneuvers, and predictive AI coordination. By dividing enemy focus across multiple vectors, they could disrupt supply lines, neutralize command centers, and weaken morale before any decisive confrontation. In the asteroid field surrounding the Ophiuchus corridor, human drones swarmed through gravitational blind spots. Adaptive cloaking allowed frigates and stealth cruisers to approach undetected. Energy reflection grids redirected minor attacks, giving the impression that humanity was weaker than it truly was. Meanwhile, predictive AI simulations suggested the Sarith would attempt a feigned retreat, drawing humans into a kill zone. Captain Kane, Lieutenant Wren reported, "They're attempting exactly the maneuver we anticipated. Their lead cruisers are moving toward the Thalos belt, likely expecting us to follow." Lyra smiled. "Then we give them a lesson in adaptability. Deploy decoy fleets along the Thalos corridor. The main fleet takes the alternate vector. Strike teams Theta and Sigma will infiltrate their outer command stations. We will turn their assumptions against them." The humans moved with precision. Decoy fleets, composed of smaller, holographically enhanced ships, drew the attention of the Sarith vanguard, triggering energy volleys that would have devastated real ships had they been in the wrong position. Simultaneously, the main fleet bypassed the trap, advancing deeper into the asteroid clusters. Strike teams infiltrated outer command stations using stealth shuttles and gravity-assisted maneuvers. Engineers worked alongside tactical units to disrupt power grids and communication arrays. Sarith command centers that once coordinated multiple fleets were now isolated, forced to respond reactively. Humanity demonstrated a principle alien adversaries seldom understood. War was as much about knowledge and control of information as it was about firepower. As humans disabled relay stations, the Sarith Dominion attempted an ambush. Elite cruisers emerged from warp corridors, intending to encircle the fleet. Yet the human fleet's predictive AI anticipated the move, automatically repositioning ships and deploying autonomous drone swarms to intercept and neutralize enemy vessels. One Sarith flagship attempted a direct assault on the Sentinel Horizon. Using adaptive shields and energy reflection technology, the humans redirected incoming plasma fire into an asteroid cluster, disabling multiple Sarith cruisers without harming civilians or neutral planetary bodies. The operation was surgical, demonstrating the educational application of physics, energy conservation, and orbital mechanics in warfare. Back on Earth, Dr. Ilara Quinn monitored the engagement, providing real-time data analysis. "They're learning faster than we predicted," she said. "Each Sarith maneuver is counted within seconds. Humanity's adaptability is overwhelming them." Amid the chaos, Lieutenant Wren noticed a developing pattern. "Captain, their command structures are fractured. Isolated cruisers are attempting independent maneuvers, but without coordination, they are being neutralized systematically." Lyra nodded. "Good. This is exactly what we need. Continue to monitor their patterns. Every engagement is a learning opportunity. Adapt, anticipate, and dominate." Human strike teams infiltrated the outer Sarith warp nodes, repurposing energy conduits to create temporary warp scramblers. The effect was immediate. Several enemy vessels became stranded, unable to retreat or reinforce other units. Within hours, humanity had gained a foothold in enemy-controlled space, a territory no human had ever dared enter before. During the engagement, human pilots communicated not with anger but with clarity and strategy. Unlike the Dominion, which often relied on intimidation and brute force, humans operated collaboratively, sharing real-time tactical insights, adjusting formations, and improvising in response to unpredicted events. Every mistake made by the Sarith was analyzed and exploited. Meanwhile, Dr. Sornfeld developed a system to utilize asteroid belts as kinetic buffers. By remotely detonating small clusters in controlled sequences, humans could create temporary gravitational obstacles, rerouting enemy ships and forcing them into predictable paths for targeting. This was education applied directly to combat, teaching physics, engineering, and strategy simultaneously. By the end of the first cycle in Dominion space, humanity had achieved disruption of Sarith command and communications, neutralization of multiple heavy cruisers and support ships, securing of outer warp nodes and asteroid corridors for strategic advantage, demonstration of superior adaptability and intelligence. The Sarith Dominion had underestimated a species that could combine ingenuity, technology, and unity into a decisive force. The alien commanders were baffled. Admiral Ziril communicated back to his fleet, "These humans, they anticipate every maneuver. Even when we attempt deception, they counter it instantly. Their strategy is beyond comprehension." On the Sentinel horizon, Captain Kane addressed her crew. "We are no longer fighting merely to survive. We are expanding the boundaries of what humanity can achieve. Each ship, each drone, each action is proof that intelligence, preparation, and coordination surpass aggression and brute force. Today we take the fight into enemy territory, and tomorrow, we show the galaxy that humans rise from devastation stronger than ever." As the fleet established orbital control over the outer Sarith zones, Earth celebrated its first victory beyond survival. Across the planet, survivors rebuilt, engineers shared designs for modular energy systems, and students studied the battle as a living classroom in physics, strategy, and AI application. For the first time, humanity understood a profound truth: civilization as it once existed had ended, but a stronger, wiser, and more adaptable humanity had begun. The species no longer relied solely on technology or brute strength. Humans had learned to integrate knowledge, science, strategy, and unity into the very fabric of warfare. Lyra Kane watched the Arphiuchus corridor from the bridge. "They thought we were vulnerable after the attacks. They assumed destruction would break our spirit. Instead, it forged us. We adapt. We innovate. We dominate." The Sarith Dominion now faces not just humans, they face a species capable of learning, predicting, and evolving faster than any enemy has ever encountered. Dr. Ilara Quinn transmitted a message to all remaining human outposts: "Humanity has entered a new era. We fight not for vengeance, not for survival alone, but to demonstrate the power of intelligence, preparation, and unity. Let this campaign be a lesson to every species in the galaxy: underestimate humans at your peril." The heart of the Dominion. The human fleet had pushed beyond the outer edges of the Sol system and established control over strategic asteroid belts and warp corridors. The Sarith Dominion, once confident in their superiority, was now scrambling to respond. Their fleets were fragmented, their command structure compromised, and their understanding of humanity's capabilities fundamentally shaken. Captain Lyra Kane stood on the bridge of the Sentinel horizon, her eyes scanning the holographic projection of Sarith-controlled space. Clusters of enemy ships moved cautiously, avoiding direct confrontation with human squadrons. Yet she knew the Dominion was preparing something, an offensive designed to reclaim the lost territories. Lieutenant Malik Wren pointed to a concentration of red blips on the hologram. "Captain, they're massing near the Ilaris Rift. Estimates suggest a force of 70 heavy cruisers and over 300 support craft. They're likely planning to overwhelm our outer positions." Lyra's expression hardened. "Good. That will make them predictable. Deploy strike teams to infiltrate their forward outposts and disrupt their communications. We force them to fight a battle on our terms, not theirs." Meanwhile, on Earth and Mars, Dr. Ilara Quinn coordinated the expansion of humanity's technological advantage. New AI-assisted drones were deployed, capable of both combat and engineering functions. They repaired damaged ships in real time, analyzed enemy tactics, and provided predictive guidance to human commanders. "Every unit must operate with intelligence," Ilara explained to the engineers. "Our goal is not destruction alone, but education, adaptation, and innovation. Let the Dominion see that humanity fights with strategy, preparation, and foresight." On the front lines, Commander Sornfeld led a detachment of orbital strike frigates toward the Ilaris Rift. The corridor was dense with asteroid fields, gravitational anomalies, and unpredictable warp nodes, perfect terrain for human ingenuity to turn the tables on the enemy. "Use the asteroid belts to your advantage," Sorn instructed. "We can manipulate their trajectories and energy signatures to create blind zones. Our drones will handle predictive targeting. The Dominion will find themselves in traps of their own making." As the human fleet advanced, the Sarith attempted a coordinated ambush. Elite cruisers deployed energy barriers, expecting to funnel the humans into a kill zone. Yet humanity anticipated the move. Using AI-predicted patterns and real-time analysis, the fleet diverted along alternate vectors, while decoy squadrons engaged the enemy's attention. Strike teams infiltrated forward outposts, deploying EMP pulses and hijacking energy relays. The Sarith command systems began to malfunction, causing confusion and miscommunication across multiple fleets. Ships that had been part of the ambush found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Back on the Sentinel horizon, Lyra issued orders. Adaptive shields at maximum. Deploy energy reflectors along the predicted enemy trajectories. Target supply and communication nodes first. Let them see that every aggressive action they take is anticipated and neutralized. The first clash was decisive. Human energy reflection grids diverted plasma volleys into asteroid clusters, causing cascading collisions that disabled several Sarith cruisers. Autonomous drones repaired minor damage instantly while continuing to disrupt enemy targeting systems. Humanity's approach was surgical, effective, precise, and deeply educational in its demonstration of physics, energy dynamics, and strategic planning. As the battle unfolded, Lieutenant Wren observed enemy movement patterns. "Captain, they're trying to split their forces to flank us. But the trajectories are predictable. We can manipulate gravitational pockets to guide them into controlled zones." Lyra nodded. "Good. Execute the maneuver. Remember, every action should demonstrate ingenuity and preparation. We fight not just to win, but to teach the galaxy the principles of strategy, science, and adaptability." Human strike teams exploited gravitational anomalies to alter enemy flight paths. Sarith cruisers collided with minor asteroid clusters or were forced into slow orbits that made them easy targets. Each engagement showcased the application of advanced orbital mechanics, energy management, and AI-assisted prediction, a living classroom in interstellar strategy. Meanwhile, Dr. Ilara Quinn coordinated with engineers on Lunar Station and Mars Colony Prime to develop adaptive warp scramblers. These devices interfered with Sarith jump points, delaying reinforcements and isolating enemy fleets. The humans' approach was not brute force but calculated disruption, demonstrating the power of intelligence over aggression. Amid the chaos, the Sarith Dominion grew desperate. Admiral Zyril, observing the battlefield from his flagship, hissed in frustration. "How can they predict every move? Every diversion, every tactical shift is counted. These humans, they fight with knowledge, not rage. They are impossible to defeat by conventional means." On the battlefield, human pilots communicated in real time, sharing insights and adjusting strategies collaboratively. Unlike the Dominion, which relied on hierarchy and obedience, humans adapted as a unit. Decisions were decentralized, allowing rapid responses to unexpected events and fostering creativity under pressure. In one pivotal maneuver, Captain Kane led a small detachment through a dense asteroid field to flank the Sarith Central Command node. Using predictive AI and gravitational mapping, the squadron disabled energy conduits, disrupted communications, and forced several enemy vessels to retreat or surrender. The Dominion fleet was disoriented, its coordination fractured. Dr. Sornfeld analyzed the situation. The Dominion assumes that technological superiority ensures victory. They fail to recognize that intelligence, preparation, and adaptive strategy are just as powerful as firepower. Humanity's strength lies in its capacity to learn, improvise, and evolve mid-battle. By the end of the cycle, humanity had achieved multiple objectives. Disrupted the Sarith command and communications. Disabled key supply and support ships. Secured strategic warp corridors for continued operations. Demonstrated superior adaptability, coordination, and scientific application. As the human fleet regrouped, Captain Kane addressed the crews. "We have entered the heart of Dominion space." They expected fear and chaos. They encountered strategy, intelligence, and unity. "Remember, we fight not merely to survive, but to demonstrate the power of preparation, adaptability, and ingenuity. Humanity rises stronger with every challenge." Across Earth, civilians continue to rebuild, repurpose technology, and contribute to the war effort. Students studied the battles as lessons in physics, engineering, and AI strategy. Every drone deployed, every energy shield activated, and every tactical maneuver executed was a practical demonstration of human ingenuity. Dr. Ilara Quinn broadcast a message to all colonies. "The Sarith Dominion has underestimated humanity's adaptability. Our civilization may be fractured, but it is not broken. Knowledge, unity, and innovation define us. We rise not just to survive, but to teach and to dominate where intellect outmatches aggression. Captain Kane looked out at the star-studded battlefield from the bridge. They thought destroying our cities would break us. It has forged us. Humanity does not merely retaliate, we adapt, we learn, we rise. And now, we are taking the fight into the Dominion itself. The galaxy will see what humans are truly capable of. The fleet moved deeper into enemy territory, fully prepared for the next phase, the Sarith inner system. Every engagement had strengthened humanity's strategy, technology, and coordination. The Dominion's arrogance had been shattered, replaced with a growing respect and fear of the species they had attacked. In every corner of human-controlled space, the lesson was clear: aggression can destroy infrastructure, but it cannot crush intellect, innovation, or unity. Humanity's rise had only begun. The human fleet advanced deeper into the Sarith inner system, a cluster of hostile planets that had served as the Dominion's strategic command centers for centuries. The farther humanity moved, the more they discovered the scale of the Dominion's infrastructure: orbital shipyards, energy pylons capable of generating planetary-scale shields, and densely packed military stations bristling with advanced weaponry. Despite the overwhelming odds, humanity was undeterred. They had learned from every encounter, every misstep, and every victory. Each operation refined their strategy and improved their efficiency. Captain Lyra Kane stood on the bridge of the Sentinel horizon, observing the holographic projections of the system. "They believe the inner system is impregnable," she said. "That is exactly why we will strike here. We fight not just to survive but to demonstrate the power of preparation, adaptability, and intelligence." Lieutenant Malik Wren analyzed the fleet's approach vectors. "Captain, the Dominion has deployed 5 heavy cruisers, each equipped with experimental energy shields. If we attack head-on, we will sustain severe losses." Lyra nodded. "We will not engage head-on. Deploy the Theta and Sigma strike teams. Use the asteroid belts for cover. Employ gravitational distortion to manipulate their positioning. Our drones will handle predictive targeting. Every movement will be calculated, every strike precise." On the orbital station above Mars, Dr. Ilara Quinn coordinated the deployment of adaptive drones and energy reflection satellites. "We will not only neutralize their defenses," she explained to her team, "we will teach them the cost of underestimating humanity. Our systems will react in real time, repairing damage, predicting enemy maneuvers, and guiding our fleet to optimal positions. Every engagement is an opportunity to demonstrate applied science, strategy, and human ingenuity." The first engagement began as the human fleet approached the outer perimeter of the inner system. The Sarith deployed a phalanx of cruisers, their energy shields glowing ominously. They launched plasma volleys intended to scatter the approaching human ships, but adaptive drone swarms intercepted the attacks. Energy reflection grids redirected plasma streams into nearby asteroid clusters, causing controlled explosions that disabled several cruisers without unnecessary destruction. Human ships maneuvered with precision, using gravitational anomalies to alter trajectories and avoid predictable paths. Each movement demonstrated not brute force but calculated ingenuity. Strike teams infiltrated outer Sarith stations using stealth shuttles. Engineers and tactical units worked in tandem to disable power conduits and communication arrays. The Dominion's ability to coordinate was rapidly degraded. Isolated cruisers attempted independent maneuvers, but without central guidance, they became easy targets. Predictive AI continuously analyzed enemy patterns, ensuring that every countermeasure was both anticipatory and adaptive. Humans had turned the battlefield into a classroom, teaching strategy, physics, and applied engineering simultaneously. In the midst of the battle, Admiral Zyril of the Sarith Dominion watched the unfolding disaster with disbelief. "These humans anticipate every move before it happens," he hissed. "Our strategies are nullified before they are executed. How can a species respond with such speed and precision?" His elite officers could offer no explanation. The Dominion's reliance on hierarchy and brute force had become their greatest weakness against humanity's decentralized, adaptive approach. Captain Kane directed the Sentinel horizon closer to a key orbital command hub. "Theta Team, Sigma Team, your objective is the central energy conduits. Disable them without destroying the station. We fight to teach, not to annihilate." The teams executed the orders flawlessly, using precision tools to neutralize power nodes and redirect energy flows. Autonomous drones repaired minor system damage and fed real-time data back to fleet commanders, allowing humans to anticipate and counter any Sarith response instantly. Dr. Sorn monitored gravitational simulations from Lunar Station. We can use the inner asteroid belts to create artificial blind zones, he explained. By manipulating gravitational fields, we guide enemy ships into predetermined zones where our drones can disable them without risking human life. It's controlled chaos, and it demonstrates the application of physics in warfare. The Dominion attempted a massive flanking maneuver, sending a wave of cruisers through a lesser-known warp corridor. The humans, however, anticipated this. Cloaked decoy fleets drew the enemy toward false coordinates, while the main fleet struck from the shadows. Predictive AI calculated optimal angles of attack, guiding both drones and ships to exploit weaknesses. Plasma volleys were neutralized or redirected, while Sarith vessels became entangled in the gravitational traps set by human engineers. During the chaos, civilian volunteers on Earth and Mars continued to contribute. Engineers repurposed mining drones for combat applications, students calculated optimal energy flow patterns for shield generators, and scientists developed adaptive AI protocols to refine fleet operations. Every human, whether on a ship, in a laboratory, or on the surface, contributed to the strategy. Warfare had become a cooperative educational exercise, demonstrating the power of unity, intelligence, and applied knowledge. By the end of the engagement, humanity had achieved several key objectives. The inner system's orbital defenses were compromised, the Dominion's command and communication networks were partially disabled, and multiple heavy cruisers were neutralized or captured. Most importantly, humans had demonstrated the principle that strategy and preparation could outweigh brute force. Each success reinforced the lesson that aggression alone could not defeat intelligence and coordination. On the Sentinel horizon, Captain Kane addressed her fleet. "We have entered the heart of the Dominion." They expected fear and chaos. They encountered strategy, intelligence, and unity. Remember, every strike, every maneuver, and every action must demonstrate the principles of science, foresight, and preparation. Humanity fights not just to survive but to teach the galaxy the consequences of underestimating ingenuity. Admiral Donovan, monitoring planetary defenses from the rebuilt command center in New Geneva, added, "The Dominion is beginning to understand that humans do not react, they anticipate. Each loss they suffer teaches them about our capacity for adaptation. They underestimate humanity at their own peril." Dr. Quinn broadcast a message to all human colonies in the Sol system. Humanity is no longer a passive civilization. We fight with knowledge, foresight, and unity. Every engagement demonstrates that aggression can destroy infrastructure, but it cannot crush intellect or ingenuity. Humanity rises stronger from each attack, and our reach now extends beyond our home system. The galaxy will learn that to attack humans is to face the full force of preparation, adaptation, and intelligence. Captain Kane looked toward the Sarith inner planets from her cockpit. They thought destroying our cities would break our spirit. Instead, it forged us. Humanity does not merely retaliate, we innovate, adapt, and dominate. Our fleet has now penetrated the inner system. Every victory, every maneuver, every drone demonstrates that humans fight not only to survive but to redefine what it means to be a dominant species in the galaxy. As the fleet moved deeper into the Dominion's heart, the aliens scrambled to mount a cohesive defense. Yet the humans, operating with decentralized coordination and predictive intelligence, stayed several steps ahead. Every engagement became a lesson in applied science, strategy, and collaborative problem-solving. Humanity's victories were not only physical but educational, proving to both the galaxy and themselves that they were a species capable of unparalleled ingenuity and resilience. Humanity's advance into Sarith space had reached a critical juncture. The inner system was under partial human control, but the Dominion's remaining forces had begun consolidating near the planetary defense rings of Zythera Prime, the Sarith homeworld. The stakes were higher than ever. One misstep could result in catastrophic losses, yet humanity's leadership was resolute. They would not only survive, they would demonstrate the full power of preparation, ingenuity, and strategic unity. Captain Lyra Kane stood on the bridge of the Sentinel horizon, overseeing the largest coordinated human fleet ever assembled. Hundreds of ships, from nimble fighter squadrons to massive orbital frigates, moved in precise formations. Adaptive drones patrolled around each vessel, ready to repair, defend, or attack as needed. Every system operated at peak efficiency, guided by predictive AI and the real-time coordination of human commanders. Lieutenant Malik Wren pointed to a dense cluster of enemy vessels approaching the outer orbital shields. "Captain, the Dominion is massing near Zythera Prime. Estimates suggest over 500 ships, including experimental warships with energy shields twice the strength of their previous models. They are preparing a defensive counterstrike." Lyra's expression was calm. Good. Let them show themselves. We have studied their tactics. We know their assumptions, their predictable patterns. Deploy strike teams Omega and Lambda. Use gravitational anomalies and decoy fleets to force them into positions favorable to us. Humanity fights with intelligence, not recklessness. On Lunar Station, Dr. Ilara Quinn coordinated the deployment of energy lattice networks across key orbital points. These networks could absorb and redistribute plasma attacks, effectively turning the enemy's energy against them. Simultaneously, engineers on Mars Colony Prime prepared adaptive warp scramblers to prevent enemy reinforcements from escaping or regrouping. Every technological innovation was an application of science in real time, and every deployment served both tactical and educational purposes. The first engagement began as humanity entered the Sarith defensive perimeter. The Dominion unleashed a barrage of plasma volleys, intending to overwhelm the fleet before it could organize. Adaptive drone swarms intercepted the attacks, while energy reflection grids redirected enemy fire into nearby asteroid clusters, causing controlled explosions that disabled multiple cruisers without collateral damage. Human ships maneuvered with precision, exploiting gravitational anomalies and utilizing predictive AI to anticipate enemy vectors. Strike teams infiltrated the outer orbital defense stations, bypassing automated turrets and disabling energy conduits. The Dominion's command networks began to fracture, isolating ships and forcing reactive maneuvers. Autonomous drones repaired minor damage instantly, ensuring that human vessels remained operational and capable of rapid repositioning. Every action demonstrated the principle that intelligence and preparation could triumph over raw firepower. Admiral Cale Donovan, observing from the reconstructed command center on New Geneva, communicated with the fleet. The Dominion is trying to force a decisive engagement, but we control the battlefield. Their assumptions about human behavior are failing. Every maneuver we execute forces them to react rather than act. They underestimate our capacity to learn and adapt in real time. As the battle intensified, the Sarith deployed their most elite warships, vessels equipped with energy shields and plasma cannons capable of devastating orbital structures. Yet even these advanced ships were neutralized by human ingenuity. Gravitational manipulation redirected their trajectories into asteroid clusters, while cloaked human decoy fleets drew attention away from the main assault force. Predictive AI calculated optimal angles of attack, enabling humans to strike with surgical precision. Meanwhile, Dr. Sornfeld monitored the gravitational patterns and energy flows from Mars Colony Prime. We can exploit the Sarith homeworld's orbit to create controlled blind zones, he explained to Ilara and Kane. By manipulating gravitational fields, we can guide enemy ships into positions where their shields and weapons become less effective. This is applied physics in action, and it demonstrates that strategy and intellect are as lethal as firepower. In the midst of the engagement, Captain Kane led a squadron through a dense asteroid field to flank the Dominion's central command node. Using cloaked maneuvering and precise gravitational mapping, the strike team disabled key energy conduits and communication arrays. Several enemy vessels were forced to retreat or surrender. The Dominion fleet, once confident and organized, was now fractured, reactive, and vulnerable. Human pilots operated with clarity and coordination, sharing real-time data and adjusting formations on the fly. Unlike the Dominion, which relied on rigid command hierarchies, humans thrived on decentralized decision-making. Every pilot, engineer, and strategist contributed to the collective intelligence of the fleet. Mistakes were immediately analyzed and corrected, ensuring continuous improvement and adaptability. By the third cycle of engagement, humanity had achieved several key objectives. The Sarith orbital defenses were disrupted, multiple heavy cruisers were disabled or captured, key energy conduits were neutralized, and warp nodes were controlled by human forces. The Dominion's ability to coordinate a counterattack had been reduced dramatically. Every victory was a testament to preparation, intelligence, and the practical application of knowledge. Captain Kane addressed her fleet through a holographic transmission. We are now at the doorstep of Zythera Prime. They believed their homeworld was untouchable. They believed that humans could be destroyed through fear and aggression. They were wrong. Humanity does not merely survive attacks. We adapt, innovate, and rise stronger than before. Today, we demonstrate that knowledge, preparation, and unity are humanity's greatest weapons. Admiral Donovan echoed the sentiment. The Dominion has underestimated humanity at every stage. They do not realize that aggression alone cannot defeat a species that can learn, predict, and adapt faster than they can react. Every maneuver we execute is a demonstration of strategy, science, and collective ingenuity. This is HFY in action. Across Earth, Mars, and Luna, civilians, engineers, and students followed the battle in real time, using it as a lesson in applied science and strategy. The war had transformed into a living classroom. Energy reflection, gravitational manipulation, predictive AI, and decentralized decision-making were no longer abstract concepts. They were the tools humanity used to survive and dominate. Every contribution reinforced the principle that knowledge and ingenuity could triumph over aggression. As the human fleet established orbital control around Zythera Prime, Sarith morale began to collapse. Admiral Zyril, observing from his flagship, could barely maintain composure. How can they anticipate every maneuver? How can a species so young and untested counter centuries of Dominion experience? They fight with intelligence, not rage. This is unprecedented. His officers offered no solution. The Dominion's traditional reliance on power and hierarchy had been rendered ineffective by humans' adaptability and ingenuity. Captain Kane transmitted a final message to the Dominion fleet. Your aggression has brought devastation to our world. You believed we would cower, that we would submit. Instead, humanity has risen. We fight not only to survive, but to demonstrate that intelligence, preparation, and unity can overcome any force. Your homeworld is now within our reach, and every step we take is a lesson in strategy, science, and the power of an indomitable species. By the end of Part 6, humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They had penetrated the heart of the Dominion's territory, neutralized critical defenses, and demonstrated that preparation, intelligence, and adaptive strategy could outmatch even the most advanced enemy technology. Civilization, as humanity had known it on Earth, had ended, but a stronger, wiser, and more capable humanity had begun. The species was no longer passive. They had transformed survival into mastery, chaos into learning, and destruction into opportunity. From the Sentinel horizon, Captain Kane looked toward the glowing blue planet of Zythera Prime. They thought fear would break us. It has forged us. We rise, we adapt, and we fight. Humanity is no longer just surviving. We are defining our place in the galaxy, and the Sarith Dominion will remember the cost of underestimating us. The siege of Zythera Prime was about to begin. Humanity had the advantage of knowledge, preparation, and unity. The Dominion, for all its power, faced a species that had turned every disaster into an opportunity, every challenge into a lesson, and every battle into a demonstration of human ingenuity. The final confrontation was near, and humanity was ready. Humanity's fleet hovered above Zythera Prime, the Sarith homeworld. Orbital bombardments had softened key defensive positions, but Captain Lyra Kane knew that victory would not come through sheer firepower alone. The Dominion had underestimated humans at every stage, and now the final lesson would be taught. Intelligence, preparation, and adaptability could defeat even the most powerful adversary. The Sentinel horizon led the formation, surrounded by hundreds of adaptive drones and fighter squadrons. Lieutenant Malik Wren analyzed the final orbital patterns. Captain, their planetary shield is still active, but our AI simulations indicate a 92% probability that we can create a temporary breach using synchronized energy pulses across 3 strategic points. Lyra's gaze remained steady. Then we do exactly that. Deploy strike teams Omega, Lambda, and Sigma. Each unit must act with precision. The Dominion expects aggression. We will give them intelligence, strategy, and coordination. Across Earth, Dr. Ilara Quinn coordinated a planetary-level operation. Engineers, students, and scientists had worked tirelessly to develop a multi-layered energy lattice network designed to interface with the fleet's orbital weapons. This allowed humans to manipulate energy flows, temporarily weakening the planet's defensive shields without destabilizing the planet itself. Every deployment demonstrated practical applications of physics, energy management, and predictive modeling. On the battlefield, human drones swarmed in coordinated patterns, guided by predictive AI that anticipated enemy maneuvers. The Dominion responded with volleys of plasma and experimental energy weapons, but each attack was absorbed, redirected, or neutralized. Human ships maneuvered in 3-dimensional orbital vectors, exploiting gravitational anomalies, asteroid belts, and shielded corridors. Every action was a demonstration of applied science and tactical brilliance. Strike teams infiltrated outer orbital platforms, using stealth shuttles and gravity-assisted trajectories to bypass automated turrets and disable key energy conduits. The Dominion's command network began to fracture further. Ships that were previously coordinated became isolated, forced to respond reactively rather than proactively. Each human move amplified the effectiveness of the next, creating a cascade of tactical advantage. Admiral Cale Donovan, monitoring from the rebuilt command center on New Geneva, addressed the fleet. They believed their homeworld was untouchable. They believed humans could be cowed through fear. But every assumption they made has been exploited. Intelligence, preparation, and unity have become our most powerful weapons. Humanity does not merely survive, we define the battlefield itself. As the first energy pulse struck the shield generators of Zythera Prime, small breaches appeared in the planetary defense grid. Strike teams acted with perfect timing, amplifying the effect and creating a synchronized opening. Captain Kane's fleet advanced through the breach, targeting strategic points across orbital platforms. Autonomous drones repaired minor damage instantly while continuing offensive operations, demonstrating that technology, intelligence, and coordination could outmatch raw force. The Dominion attempted a last-ditch counterattack, deploying elite warships equipped with energy absorbers and hypercharged plasma cannons. Yet humanity anticipated this. Decoy squadrons drew the attackers into gravitational traps while main strike forces neutralized critical nodes. Plasma fire was redirected, shields were enhanced in real time, and predictive AI ensured that every maneuver was optimized. Humanity's ability to learn, adapt, and improvise rendered the Dominion's final efforts futile. On the Sentinel horizon, Captain Kane issued calm, decisive orders. Target the planetary defense cores. Neutralize without unnecessary destruction. Humanity fights to demonstrate strength, ingenuity, and strategy, not mere brutality. Every move must be precise, every action purposeful. Dr. Sorn felt monitored orbital mechanics and energy flows from Mars Colony Prime. By calculating the gravitational interplay between the planet and its moons, we can create artificial blind zones. These zones allow strike teams to bypass defenses and disable key energy conduits without endangering civilians or infrastructure unnecessarily. This is applied physics at its most effective. Within hours, key Sarith defensive stations were neutralized. Their orbital fleet was fractured, communication disrupted, and morale collapsed. Captain Kane broadcast a message across universal channels, her voice calm and commanding, "Sarith Dominion, your arrogance has led you to this point. You believed humans would bow to aggression, that fear could break us. You were wrong. Humanity rises, not through destruction alone, but through intelligence, unity, and preparation. Your homeworld is within reach. Learn the cost of underestimating a species that turns adversity into mastery." The Dominion's remaining leaders were in shock. Admiral Ziral's voice trembled over secure channels. How can a species so young and untested overcome centuries of Dominion experience? Every maneuver we anticipate is countered. Every strategy we devise is nullified. They fight not with rage, but with intelligence, foresight, and unity. This is impossible. From the surface of Zythera Prime, humans prepared the final orbital landings. Adaptive drones and precision orbital bombardments cleared paths for tactical insertions without causing planetary destabilization. Engineers had designed modular landing platforms capable of deploying strike teams and supplies in hostile territory while simultaneously gathering real-time environmental and tactical data. Every operation reinforced the lesson that human ingenuity could transform war into a precise, educational, and decisive instrument. When human forces finally touched down on Zythera Prime, they encountered minimal resistance. Isolated Dominion units were easily contained through coordination, predictive tactics, and intelligence-driven strategy. Civilians and non-combatants were preserved, demonstrating humanity's principle that even in war, ethics, education, and preparation guided every action. Captain Kane led her strike teams to the Central Command Citadel. Through the use of adaptive AI, precise energy disruption, and careful tactical maneuvering, the Citadel was neutralized. The Dominion leadership surrendered not because of overwhelming firepower, but because they had been outmaneuvered, outthought, and outadapted at every level. Dr. Ilara Quinn broadcast a final message to the galaxy. The Sarith Dominion has learned the cost of underestimating humanity. Civilization may have been shattered on Earth, but we have transformed adversity into mastery. Our victory is not only physical but intellectual. Knowledge, preparation, and adaptability define humanity's strength. We fight not only to survive but to teach the universe that intelligence and unity are more powerful than aggression alone. As humans stood on the surface of Zythera Prime, observing the surrender of the Dominion forces, Captain Kane reflected on the journey. They believed destruction would break us. It forged us instead. Every battle taught us, every challenge refined us, every setback strengthened us. Humanity rises not merely to survive but to define its place in the galaxy. We fight with knowledge, strategy, and unity. We win because we learn, we adapt, and we rise stronger than any enemy could anticipate. The Sentinel horizon hovered above the planet, drones patrolling the orbital skies. Humanity had turned the Dominion's greatest strength, their aggression, against them, using intelligence, science, and adaptability as their ultimate weapons. Across the stars, civilizations would remember this victory, not as a conquest born of destruction, but as a demonstration of what a species capable of learning, innovating, and uniting could achieve. Humanity had risen from the ashes of its destroyed cities, from the ruins of its shattered civilization, and from the chaos of interstellar war. The species had shown the galaxy that even after brutality, devastation, and overwhelming odds, it could innovate, adapt, and dominate. Civilization as it once was had ended, but a stronger, wiser, and more capable humanity had begun. Captain Kane looked out at the stars beyond Zythera Prime. We have proven that humanity does not bow to aggression. We rise. We fight. And the galaxy will never forget the lesson we have taught. Never underestimate a species that turns survival into mastery, chaos into education, and destruction into opportunity. The war was over. Humanity had won. The Sarith Dominion would rebuild, but the knowledge, adaptability, and unity demonstrated by humans would forever be a lesson across the cosmos. Civilization may have ended, but humanity had risen, not as passive survivors, but as a species that defined the meaning of strength, intelligence, and HFY itself.